Good morning, La Antigua girls, and welcome back to Wunderkammer, the Cabinet of Wonders. As promised, I'm going to talk a little bit about dolls today, and you may hear Nansen in the background. He has something to say as well. I have a large collection of dolls, which through the years have come to me as, well, truth be told, may have come to Maeve. I'm just keeping this collection until she grows older and seeks their companionship again. But they came as gifts or souvenirs, or they were donated to use as part of a story hour or to help people understand another culture. Again, these dolls come from around the world, and that's something important to know about dolls, is that throughout time, or history, we could say, across all cultures, it appears that people created dolls, and that both boys and girls and men and women, so big people and children, men, women, and all that's in between, have interacted with dolls or figurines or statuettes, things that represented the human. You may think of dolls as something that we play with, and they're a very important part of childhood. We like to take care of baby dolls, which is very good practice for when a brother or a sister arrives, and you can help mom and dad look after that new sibling. We like to dress them up. We like to admire their clothing. We like to admire how they're made. We like to marvel at what they represent. For me, it's other cultures, other possibilities. They're also a source of healing. We talk to dolls. They help us. Think of the comfort of a doll, or perhaps even a teddy bear. Close. A different kind of doll. And they are part of our everyday. Think about going to church and seeing figures of saints. Think about how we go round in the marketplace to purchase this or that, and how representations of humans, big dolls, show us how something might look on us or how we might use something. So again, dolls of all sizes are very important to us. Now, these dolls, these are from Norway. This is Kristen and this is Håkon. And if you can see from the patches on the tunics that these are Olympians. These were the mascots for the 17th Olympiad in Lillehammer, Norway. And a little brochure came with these dolls that explained that these dolls are from about, well, they represent a prince and princess from the 1200s or so. And they're like Norwegian children. They're open-minded, they're free, they're alert, and they're happy. And like most Norwegian children, they like to play outdoors, and they're conscientious of their environment. These dolls are important to us because family in Norway sent these dolls to us. So they're fun to think about in terms of what they represent as far as the Olympic Games and Norwegian children in general, but they remind us of family. So they're kind of stand-ins for our family in Norway, and we keep them in affection. All right, what about this doll? This doll comes from Russia, and this is a very famous kind of doll from Russia called the matryoshka. We think of them as nesting dolls, and I think maybe you've seen these in my house, and you know that if I open this doll, which makes a terrible squeaking sound, so I'm not going to do it. If I open this doll, you'll find a smaller doll inside, and inside that doll you'll find yet another doll and another and another. I can show you with just a smaller model that came from Ukraine. This is a gift from Sasha Ляпина. And here again, we remember the person who gave us the doll with great affection. But it's also fascinating to see how each doll opens up smaller, smaller, until we get to what's called the seed doll. Oh, look at that. It does look like a little seed. And of course, Matiroshka, what does that mean? Well, it means a little matron, or the person, the woman who is the head of a family, which might be the babushka, the grandmother, the person who supports the family, who sees to the family's needs, and is the source of comfort and wisdom. They also, which is to say, the Russian people sometimes think of Russia as the mother country. And these dolls were first created at the end of the 19th century, so in the late 1800s, by craftsmen who wanted to represent the Russian people, or the folk arts of the Russian people, at one of the great world expos. But today, this is one of the souvenirs that people take home from Russia, or that Russians leave behind as a memory. And again, we think they're beautiful. They represent Russian art and ingenuity, but mostly for our family, they remind us of our great friendships with many Russians, Ukrainians, and others that came from that part of the world. Another doll I'd like to show you comes from South Africa. It's an Indebele. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. Doll, Indebele doll. And this one would probably stand on a shelf. The clothing represents what many women today in that culture wear if they are representing traditional clothing. Leather and beads, and you see the beautiful necklace here, and even the headdress. And these dolls now are given traditionally to young women who are marrying, to wish them happiness in their marriage, and to call for blessings on a new family that might be forming as they enter married life. So, Ndebele doll, which reminds us of the people of South Africa. Then, this doll, which again is made of clay. Dolls have been made of all sorts of materials, everything from corn husks and apples to textile to clay and so forth. Almost any material you can create a doll from those materials. Screws and scrap metal and a little bit of straw and a hank of yarn. You can make a doll. This one's made of ceramic, of clay. And so probably we would sit this on a shelf, but we could take it down and have a chat. You may have noticed no face. That's a little bit unusual in a doll, because many dolls have faces that are made with great care, and that's the thing that attracts us to them, in fact, because they look like us. It's like looking at a little bit of a mirror. But this was created in the 80s, and it's called a lime doll because the woman who made the doll, or who originated the doll, her name was Lime. And she wanted to represent the Dominican people in particular. She wanted to show them in a traditional hat and some of the features of the national costume. But when she went to create the face, she thought, there's no single set of features that represent the Dominican people, because they come from all around the world. They come from every walk of life to be a part of the Dominican Republic. So she left it to our imagination. And I rather like this doll because it reminds me of the young man who brought it to me, Matt Brinker. Then, lastly, a doll from Peru. And I decided to go full Peruvian with this, which is why I'm wearing a special hat and pom-poms from Peru. Now, this one's a little bit unusual because it's a doll that's made pretty recently, but it's been made to look old. And that's because the doll that this is modeled upon is one that was probably 800 or 900 years old and comes from the coast of Peru near Lima. And the original dolls were made by the Chaqué people. These dolls were laid together with a person who had died in their gravestead, in their grave place. And we don't exactly know what these dolls were made to do. It could be that they were just reminders or reflections of that person. So this might have been left with a young woman who was a mother or was about to be a mother. They may look like the person. They may be companions for the person who is traveling through eternity. We don't know a great deal about them, but we do know that they represent again the religion, the faith, if you will, of the Chaqué people. And moreover, they remind me of our trip to Peru. All right. I think that's what we'll do for today. And we'll spend more time with dolls as we go through the next weeks. But I hope this finds you keeping well. And I look forward to seeing you from across the way. Bye-bye.